People are so amazed that a national police force is the symbol for our country. And I think that pretty much covers it all. Even for our own people in Canada, they all are proud of that red coat and that mounted rider. It's part of our history and part of our tradition.
The whole pomp and ceremony of the thing, it's something I remember seeing as just a very little child and just being awestruck at how they could make the horses dance.
The ride is almost like a national treasure. It's something that's ours, nobody can copy, and then nobody else has. You never could make a ride. It became what it became because it's grown with the country.
The public is in awe of the show. The big black horse, the man or the woman sitting on it in red serge sort of sets them back, and they reminisce a little bit with history and the whole idea of being Canadian. Our job here is to breed horses, black horses for musical ride. It takes a year's work, basically, to get one live foal. And horses, being as they are, as big as they are, they're very fragile creatures, and they don't reproduce as easily as some other species.
This is the Musical Ride Stud Farm. 350 acres of fields, streams, and pastures near the village of Pakenham in the Ottawa Valley. All of the mounts in the ride are black, or very nearly. It so happens that black is a very tricky hue to achieve in a horse.
It's a challenge to try and pick the right pairings and matings of horses to produce live foals on the ground of the right color. The size and temperament, movement, the whole thing it's a challenge.
The mounts go into training as 3-year-olds, and at 6, they're sufficiently schooled in equitation to join the ride in Ottawa as one of its 36 4-legged members.
Dennis, get your legs back and on. Well, a horse like her, you have to keep your legs on. You can't get your legs off. Jeff, support with the outside rein. You're pulling too much with the inside.
The first few days of training, I remember it was just hilarious. There were horses going everywhere. We didn't know what we were doing at the time, and the horses obviously taking the riders for a spin.
The toughest part of the whole training period was to deal with myself, with my lack of ability riding a horse. It was a little overwhelming. I didn't know there was so much to learn, just knowing how to ride a horse. I thought, oh, fine, you know, they'll put a red serge on me, I'll sit on a horse and look pretty. No.
The Mounties, resplendent in scarlet, under broad-brimmed Stetsons astride big, black horses. It could be said that for many people around the world, this team of horse and rider is the quintessential symbol of Canada. And at home, the musical ride of the RCMP has always been on the money as a crowd pleaser. Of course, there's a world of difference between the harsh realities of modern policing and the ceremonial spectacle of the musical ride. When the force was formed in the late 19th century, every Mountie was perfectly at home on horseback. And in fact, some city slicker writer dubbed them the Riders of the Plains. Half cowpuncher, half English bobby, The original members of the Northwest Mounted had a flexible approach towards peacekeeping in a rough and ready country. Very rough and ready. The first musical ride took place at the police barracks in Regina in 1885, just 2 years after the Northwest Rebellion. British cavalry drills were adapted into the exuberant equine ballet which forms the basis of today's display. In the years since its formation, this refined and polished unit has performed many thousands of times around the world and won the hearts of millions. The musical ride represents Canada officially, too. It took its place in the Queen's coronation parade in 1953. And whenever the Queen visits Canada, members of the ride provide a mounted escort. In fact, today on Parliament Hill, Her Majesty and a former member of the ride are immortalized in bronze.
Ride, walk, march. Cover the same ground as lead file.
We do take our time. We take up to 2.5 to 3 years to train the mounts. And of course, horses are somewhat like people in that some are nervous, some are bold, some are lethargic. So with a nervous horse, we try to take a more experienced, quieter, more confident rider.
Okay, if you are right up nose to croup when you're coming down the wall, when you turn off, you will have the proper distance knee to knee to allow the other people to pass through.
It's hard enough when you're marching, let's say, just alone, to keep a line straight with other people, much less when you have a horse. It was a real shock to me how difficult it actually is to say, just keep a line straight with your horse. He doesn't know the line has to be straight.
You also have to dress to your lead file to keep this line straight, so that this line is also straight as the 8 horses pass across the school. So if the lead file of 1 and 2 are here, the lead file of 3 and 4 have to be here.
I think one of the most important things that the public doesn't understand about the ride is the amount of time and effort that goes into training of the ride. We're talking about 4 to 6 months of 5 days a week, twice a day, hard work to get the ride in that condition.
If you were in battle, this could clear people coming on this side. Everybody knows lance drill is designed to protect yourself in the entire circle. So the first point goes out approximately 2 o'clock.
Our main job in the stables is, of course, the muck out, the cleaning out of the stalls first thing every morning. We generally will clean out our own stalls and whatnot, help out whoever needs it. There's also 36 horses that need to be groomed on a daily basis, and most of them will be groomed 2 to 4 times a day, depending on how often they're ridden. It involves a series of brushings with a rough brush up to a finishing brush, and cleaning out the horse's hooves, washing his face.
My horse is known to be a little opinionated sometimes. She has a mind of her own, and it was difficult at first because she didn't trust me. She's been handled by so many different people, and it took a lot. It took a lot of working around her and being around her and showing her that I wasn't going to hurt her. I'll go in there and I'll just visit with her. And now she's come to the point where she'll actually look forward to that. Come up and let me scratch her ears and scratch her nose, and it's sort of, you can tell, like, it was a big change from when I first started riding her. When I first started riding her, I go in there, her ears are pinned back, and it's sort of like, don't even bother coming near me.
But even novices find one day that they can keep their seats, wheel and turn with a touch of the knee, form a straight line, and do just about everything their predecessors did. That's when they can stand in a stirrup and take up their place in the long column of riders that stretches back across the Canadian prairie. This convoy of custom-built horse-carrying tractor trailers plus the escorting bus, will swing into all kinds of big city arenas and small-town country fairs before the tour ends in the fall. The inside of this bus will become very familiar to these Mounties over the summer. They'll be on the road for more than 100 days, ample time to come together as a tight-knit team.
Well, when you travel, there's two people that travel with each horse trailer. One will ride in the front with the truck driver, and then there'll be a person in the back with the horses. And when you're in the back with the horses, it can be entertaining at times because you have 12 horses in a very tight area. And they're like people, they get bored and they'll sit there and start nattering at each other and have their little horse fights.
The ride's next performance, one of the more than 90 this season, is in Chicoutimi, on the beautiful Saguenay River, 200 kilometers north from Quebec City. It's the town's 150th anniversary. Crews at the local arena work frantically to prepare the surface for the show.
When we arrive at any show site, we have the setup in the stables is our first priority. We have the crews all set up. Everybody has a job, whether it's bedding down stalls or hanging water buckets or unloading the horses, bringing in the tack boxes.
Everything's got to be perfect as far as we're concerned. We're all a bit of perfectionists, so we do a lot of polishing. Boots, all the leather is polished up to as high a shine as we can get. Of course, all the chrome and the brass is gleaming for a show. We spend literally hours in the summer just polishing leather, polishing brass, polishing harness.
My job as a lead file rider is to set the pace. It's very important that the pace of the ride is steady. If the pace at the front varies up and down, then you get this freight train effect behind you where it goes slow, fast. The signals I give, if I nod my head or use my lance, are signals to the other lead files and people in my own ride that, yes, now we're going to turn, or now we're going to do the incline.
Real slow. Half a turn to the brake. Okay, brake.
At this point in the performance, the mounts get a rest. The riders don't. The lances may be made from bamboo, but they're still heavy. Tipped with cold steel, their pleated pennons represent a savage tradition of cavalry. White flags would turn red and crinkle with the drying blood of enemies.
Kids love it. Kids just love the horses. Kids and older people, they just really enjoy it. Lots of comments like, oh, I can't believe what you guys do with those horses. Your horses are so beautiful. And it's an awesome experience for them.
They love the ride, they love the horses and the RCMP and everything else. They're so proud of it. You can sit there and talk with them and you get to know them, that they love the police, which is really strange. Coming out of the field, you get the very negative aspects of dealing with people because you're dealing with them in violent situations. And now it's just a wonderful sort of feeling.
July 1st is, of course, a special day for Canada. There's no better day for the ride, and no better place to perform it than at its headquarters in the nation's capital. But first, mounts and riders put on a thrilling display of equitation. These enthusiastic constables are tenderfoots, ride rookies, paying their dues. To build character, they get to hoist large bits of painted timber around the show ring.
It's not like going to pay to see a circus or going to pay at an exhibition to get on a ride or something to that effect. It's something to be experienced and to be shared by the people of the country.
When I first went out into my first show, it was an incredible feeling. Like you feel your heart's almost growing, because it is a proud feeling. It's a very proud feeling when you hear, you know, "Oh, Canada," and people are clapping and everything. And to be able to do the performance, I love it. I can't explain how much I enjoy doing it.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the musical ride of the Royal Canadian Mounted Police.
It's such a very special thing, almost like a bit of a high. And even if you've done it 100 times, all of a sudden the 105th time you walk in, you look out and you see people and you see them looking at you, and it doesn't make a difference if you're riding in the back or you're riding in the front. You still get that little buzz, that little nice feeling.
The music during the performance is very important to me. I love the music. It gives you a little bit of a swing when you're riding. My horse likes it. He swings along just as well as can be. He settles in. I catch myself humming along to the music during the show all the time.
The musical ride is a precision routine. There's lots to remember, and horse and rider must work together. It looks tricky, and it is. But some maneuvers are trickier than others.
Probably the most difficult maneuver that we do is the one we call the turnstiles, where we have two rides revolving through each other in opposite directions. And the horses in the center are at a virtual standstill, while the ones on the extreme ends are cantering and they're walking, trotting in between. And so to keep straight lines in that, it's without a doubt, I think, the most difficult one that we do.
Okay, watch Brian.
The most difficult move to do cleanly is thread the needle. There's 4 horses passing through the center at one time, basically cutting each other's rump. And it's a tough one to gauge, because the horses want to roll on. They want to move on. They see the other horses coming at them. They want to evade collision.
People look at the musical ride and they say, "That's so amazing. How can they do that without hitting each other?" But my job in the musical ride, when I'm doing a thread the needle, is not to hit the person from my right. That's all I have to do. So if everybody does their part and does it properly, then the whole thing works.
It's going real good so far. We're going to keep the pace nice and quiet. Let's rock and roll.
I used to be quite nervous of the charge, simply because I was always scared that if I fall off or I get bucked off, there's a rear rank coming over top of me. The horses enjoy it because they know just for a few brief seconds they can really let go and let loose.
Okay, let's go. Charge!
I don't think there's too much else that can be as symbolic of Canada, other than the flag perhaps, than the ride. I mean, it's all Canadian. It's made up of Canadians. It's everything in it is Canadian content. I think it's Canadian pride and it's Canadian tradition. And it's all just one big package of Canada.
It's been well over a century since Canada's mounted police began showing off their prowess on horseback. Mostly, they've reserved these warlike skills for displays on warm summer evenings and put music to what was once a dance of grim purpose. But if you are just a bit of a romantic, you can hear faintly the echoes of the ride's real origins in creaking saddle leather and jangling harnesses, and in the sight of fluttering pennons when riders in red serge on black horses go by in twos.